So football is finally back, and what an interesting first week we saw. I mean, there was definitely its fair share of surprises. Probably the biggest one would be the Cardinals tying the Lions, I would say. But there's also a couple other ones, and I think one of the biggest surprises, without a doubt, was the fact that the Minnesota Vikings weren't just able to beat the Falcons. I mean, many figured it would be a close game, but the fact that they were really able to just blow the brakes off the Falcons. I mean, they won 28-12, but they had a 28-0 lead in the fourth quarter. The two touchdowns that the Falcons scored were kind of in garbage time. But maybe even more impressive about this win was really how the offense was run. And by that, I mean how the offense was really run. I mean, kind of the meme last season, every single time the Vikings lost a game, it was, oh, we gotta run the ball more. We have to try to find ways to run the ball more. Well, they definitely ran the ball a solid amount in this game. I mean, they had 38 rushing attempts to just 10 passing attempts. Kirk Cousins' final stat line was 8 for 10 for 98 yards. Very small, but hey, I mean, that's all you have to do sometimes. The fact that they won in a convincing fashion and Kirk Cousins didn't even have over 100 yards is quite bizarre, but a large reason why was just because the running game was working so well. And so it's definitely bizarre that a running back ends up with more rushing yards than the quarterback did, but that is what happened with Dalvin Cook's 21 carries for 111 yards and 2 touchdowns along with it. I think one of the main reasons the Vikings didn't make the playoffs last year was the lack of running game. You know, Dalvin Cook was hurt for most of the season, and they didn't really run block too well either. But this game, we gotta see Dalvin Cook go full Dalvin Cook. I'm a big fan of Dalvin Cook, and I am very excited to see him really perform very well with the Vikings. And let's just jump into it with this play. So first things first for Minnesota, they're going to have their right tackle and tight end actually both go up to block those two Falcons right there, which seemingly does leave a Falcon completely unblocked on the edge. However, Minnesota has a plan for him as well. They're going to have their right guard move over, and he's going to be the one blocking that Falcon, and that could create some good angles for then a fullback to basically run in between both of those two Falcons, and then just have Dalvin Cook follow the fullback. That's the way this play is supposed to work on paper. And after the ball is snapped, it's working out okay. I mean, the Atlanta Falcon does a pretty good job of making sure that he closes that gap and doesn't create a huge gap, so the fullback is already going to have to kind of struggle to get in between them, so Dalvin Cook obviously will have to struggle a little more. So for Cook, you have two options on this play. Probably the more common option would be to try to run in between those two Vikings players, but for Cook, he's saying, listen, I have speed, and I'm going to look through the bottom half of the screen and see that there is nobody really underneath the hash marks on the bottom half of the screen. I mean, it's just wide open over there. And again, with a slower back, maybe that's not something you try, but Cook is a faster back, so he is going to run up to the outside, and he's able to pick up some ground right off the bat. He's already at the line of scrimmage, and he has some room to run. He'll probably pick up about 5 or 6 more yards. Eventually, there's going to be a Falcons defensive back right over there, who's actually probably going to be the guy who can come into this play and make the play, but if you notice, he's facing down to the bottom half of the screen. So for Cook, what does that tell him? Men lie, women lie, but feet don't lie. Wherever your feet are pointed, that's where you're probably going. So that defensive back is expecting Cook to go to the bottom half of the screen. And for Cook, he's going to then cut back to the middle of the screen, and because he has such acceleration and such speed, and he's able to control his body while running at a top speed, he's able to sort of just get right back to the inside of the field and pick up some yards. Very good play from Cook. This play also stood out at me where, first things first, Garrett Bradbury is actually going to have a one-on-one matchup here, so could be kind of interesting to see how their first round pick, who I am very high on, could have a one-on-one matchup against. But they're also going to have their left guard and left tackle both double team that Falcon right there, and then the guard will move up to the second level to block another Falcon. And one thing you'll see right when this ball is snapped is that Bradbury does a great job. Bradbury's winning his one-on-one matchup very well. So, that's something that's definitely promising. If Bradbury could be that elite level center, that could really help them in a lot of ways. However, there's another problem. If you look at the left guard, he's pretty far over at this point. He had to finish off the double team, but he kind of spent a little bit too long finishing off the double team, and now he's going to have to go pretty far to make sure he can block that Falcon. And because of it, it's not really going to work out too well. I mean, as you see, he's able to get a hand on him, but not really too much more than that. But if you look at Cook, he's already given up on that inside part. He already realized, okay, there's too much space there. I gotta find something else that's gonna work. And so for Atlanta, you're expecting a run up the middle because, well, that's what the play was. It was a run up the middle. And so you're ready to try to get to the inside of the field. And Ben Cook, he's just going to run up to the outside, and he's actually going to end up getting a touchdown out of this. That's just awareness mixed with speed, and that's kind of what I love about Cook, is, he has great speed, but he's also able to make those quick decisions so well, which is kind of what makes him, I'm not quite sure I would say elite level running back, but he's knocking on a doorstep. He's certainly one level below that already. I know some of you might be saying, okay, well, he's clearly not on that level just yet, but I mean, listen, this guy has more average yards per attempt than Todd Gurley, Ezekiel Elliott, and Le'Veon Bell. And I'm not talking in a season, I mean in his career he has more average yards per attempt with 4.7. Granted, he is a different halfback than all those guys, so I'm not saying that he's better than those guys. I don't think he is, at least not quite yet. But I am saying I think in a year or two he could be, putting himself in that conversation. And I think at least right now he's just one level below those guys. He'll have to stay healthy for a full season before we can really put him in that conversation. But if he does stay healthy, I mean, this guy will probably sleepwalk to a 1,000-yard season if he can stay healthy. There was also a play like this where the left tackle and left guard each just have a one-on-one matchup. It's pretty simple. They have a one-on-one matchup, then the fullback goes right in between them, and then Cook will just follow the fullback. Pretty simple play. And after the ball is snapped, the offensive line does their job, and now if we see Cook, he's going to gain some yards on this play. The offensive line did their job, so Cook will gain some yards. Now his job is to simply gain as many yards as possible. And if you look at the second level, okay, so there are 2 Vikings who are blocking right over there, but there's also a Falcon who is unblocked. So for Cook, he might try to break to the bottom half of the screen, try to, get to a sideline, but that's just not going to work since there's a Falcon over there. So Cook's going to actually have to break to the middle of the field. A lot of guys probably wouldn't realize that and would still break down to the bottom half of the screen and only gain 2 or 3 yards, but Cook's a smart player. He's going to realize that, and he is going to break in between those 2 Vikings players. Of course, there's a good chance a Falcon will be able to get off that block just because at the second level you have more space, but for Cook, he's still going to try it. He doesn't hesitate at all. He runs as fast as he can, and he's able to pick up a solid 7 yards on that play. It might not be game-changing, but that is a really key play on that one, to have the awareness to break to the inside that quickly and be able to gain as many yards as possible. When you think about a smart player, what are the positions you usually think about? You'll think about quarterback, you'll think about middle linebacker or safety, but it really is true that you want to have a smart running back who knows which hole to run through. There's also this next one where what you're going to see on the top half of the screen, again, this is pretty simple. It's all just one-on-one matchups. That's the way this play is supposed to work for Minnesota. And so after the ball is snapped, Cook is going to run to the top half of the screen, and he has a decision to make, but again, this decision is actually kind of easy. You like when your offensive line does their job, they make the decision easy. Your job right here is basically just try to run through that gap. That's all you have to do. However, here's the problem. Those Falcons could absolutely get off their block. If they can get a hand free, they could try to bring Cook down. So Cook's going to have to get through there very quickly. But he is going to be able to shoot that gap. There's just a small amount of contact, not enough to bring him down, and he is able to pick up a solid game. So again, that's kind of what Cook's bringing to the table in a lot of ways. He's a fast, smart player who doesn't hesitate with his decisions, and he accelerates quickly. I mean, he's kind of the perfect running back to run an outside zone type system with. He has that home run hitting ability, so if you give him a lot of handoffs to the outside, well, occasionally he will break one and maybe get a touchdown or maybe still just pick up 20 yards or so. But it's not just for touchdowns, it's also for smaller plays. Like on this one, it's going to be a similar concept to the one I showed you earlier, where the way it's going to work is that there's going to be 2 Vikings who once again are just going to block those 2 Falcons right there. And then Minnesota will send their left guard over to block the edge rusher. That's the way it's going to work. And if you take a look at right when this ball is snapped, so that's really the one guy you're going to want to take a look at. It's all dependent on this block of whether Cook should make a decision to cut to the inside or to the outside. It's almost a little similar to an RPO in a sense, where really the decision is that Falcons player going to go a little bit closer to the middle of the field, or is he going to stay to the outside? It's tough because on a running play, typically you want to try to get as far to the inside as possible, but you also have to make sure you're not giving up containment, and he kind of is giving up containment. Against slower backs, it wouldn't be a problem, but Cook has speed, and so he's going to try to run to the top half of the screen. For plenty of backs, that would be a bad decision, but Cook has that speed. He is able to gain some yards, and he does take a big hit. That one actually got flagged, which I disagree with. I don't think that should have been a penalty. Cook was still in bounds at the time of the penalty. I think either you run out of bounds or you stay in bounds, pick up the extra couple yards, but take the big hit. I think that the ownership has to fall into halfback on that play. So I'd actually say, Cook, even though you picked up an extra 15 yards, or in this case, half a distance to the goal, still try to get out of bounds maybe a yard further if you are trying to protect yourself. Either that or, lower your shoulder and deliver a big hit back, something like that. But I still actually thought that was a good play by Cook, even if it wasn't a game-changing play by Cook. I thought he did his part there, and he was able to pick up as many yards that was available on that play. And one more thing that really impressed me about Cook's Week 1 performance is this guy was actually blocking pretty well. Like on this play, for example, it's going to be a 3rd down and 7, and so he's just going to simply run out to block. He's blocking on this play. There's a reason why Mike Zimmer is leaving Cook out there on 3rd down and 7. I think he kind of trusts Cook to block. And this is going to be key because there is going to be a Falcon interior lineman who's running right over there, basically to Garrett Bradbury's left side of his body. And this is actually just him trying to set something up, but it's going to work out pretty well. He's going to generate some pressure right off the bat. I mean, as you see, he's getting to the inside of Bradbury, so now somebody else is going to have to do something here. Bradbury wasn't able to get his hands up quick enough. Now there's some pressure. And of course, that happens when a center is going up one-on-one against the defensive lineman. Not something you should blame Bradbury for, but just that's the current situation here. And so what's going to happen is a left guard and Cook are both going to run over and make sure they take away that Falcon. Again, that goes back to awareness. Cook is a high football IQ player. He realized where the most pressure was coming from and was able to help stop that pressure. Now granted, more pressure did eventually come to Cousins. That was around the tackles. Cook couldn't really do anything about that, and then Cousins ended up throwing the ball away, which actually a smart play on third down. If nothing's open, throw the ball away. That's totally fine. But I think that play still did show off Cook's high football IQ. He realizes what's going on and he's able to make plays. That's what I like about Cook. I think this Minnesota Vikings team is looking pretty good. I mean, granted, on paper, they looked good last year. It sort of didn't work out for them. Things didn't break their way. And also, as some of you guys might have noticed, there was not all 22 footage on this video. That is because the all 22 footage comes out Tuesday, and today is obviously Monday. And so my mindset is basically, well, I could just wait till Tuesday to start making videos, but I might as well just make a couple of extra videos and just not use the all 22 footage for those videos. So if you're expecting a Baker Mayfield video or a Kyler Murray video or even like Josh Allen and his great comeback, I will be making those videos. I'm going to wait for the all 22 footage to come out so I can really talk about what I want to talk about with those videos. But for some of these smaller things like Dalvin Cook, my other one is going to be Lamar Jackson that I'm going to put out today. Those are videos that I can kind of talk about what I want to talk about while still using the footage just from the broadcast. So don't worry, all 22 footage is coming. It'll be tomorrow instead of today. So yeah, hopefully you stay tuned for that. And as always, thanks for watching.